Hello, this is Jay Mitchell, and we are back with another episode of the Libertarian Uncensored podcast, going over all the posts on the Libertarian Uncensored subreddit. Let's get right into it. So first we have, is RFK Jr. really as pro-liberty as he claims, from John Stossel on YouTube, and I posted that, and I said, big deal breaker for me when it comes to RFK Jr. is the funding for Israel and support for a lot of authoritarian environmental policies. And Swamp Yankee Dan replied to me, wasn't that long ago he seemed to like him. I said I like him compared to Trump slash Biden slash Harris. It doesn't mean I like him, you know. He's probably the most libertarian one out of those four, but that doesn't really mean he's that libertarian, you know. And that just goes to show you that, you know, they're pretty much all authoritarian just in their own ways. And, you know, it doesn't really matter who wins the election. You know, there's always going to be an authoritarian office for the foreseeable future. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Vance promoting interstate travel bans on pregnant women from CH Relax, and that's crosspost from the TikTok cringe subreddit. And yeah, that's a TikTok from at Hawkeye Whack-a-Mole who said, she shared the clip of him, I guess, saying, I want to do the interstate travel ban on abortion. But I don't know how likely that is, but I guess we'll have to see what happens there. You know, I personally don't think the Republicans can get away with too much in regards to abortion, especially after repealing Roe v. Wade, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Then we have J.D. Vance's hometown state senator says civil war may be needed to quote-unquote save our country from usatoday.com by Zachness, and I couldn't reply to that one since they have me blocked, but yeah, I personally think, you know, you see a lot of this crazy rhetoric from both the left and the right these days, you know. I think it's mostly just grandstanding and trying to get attention, but I guess we'll have to see where it gets you to. You know, we did have that one assassination attempt on Trump. Could more political violence be on the way? That's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have women are not okay. This is the convention for grown adult women who pretend dolls are real babies / children. My worst nightmare. I'm terrified of dolls and psychos. From Cassandra McDonald on Twitter. And I posted that and I said, J.D. Vance is weird. You know, I don't really care for Comrade Vance. You know, I call him Comrade Vance because he wore that communist shirt at one of his Halloween parties. You know, but we live in a society where social media seemingly normalized everything. That's why, you know, increasingly when they say, "Oh, J.D. Vance is weird," the Republicans are weird. You know, it's projection really from them because, you know, they want to normalize all their bizarre kinks and fetishes, but you know, the opposition is weird because that's just the label they want to use, and that's my thoughts on that issue. You know, I personally think if people want to do things that might be seen as weird, I think they should be able to. With that being said, you know, I definitely do think if you should be able to have an opinion on it if you find it weird or unsettling, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Make Abuse Great Again from CH4Locks, and that's a cross post from the Parlor Trick subreddit. Shout out to Mr. Trump, and it's the guy on Twitter replying to Tucker Carlson, Mark USA flag. Discipline is essential. I'm just going to leave this here, laughing emoji, and it's a paddle that says "Make kids great again." And I personally don't like corporal punishment. With that being said, I do think parents should be able to raise their kids how they see fit. If they think corporal punishment is justified, that's their prerogative, not mine, and that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have Libertarianism at the local level from Cowdog Curmudgeon, and they said, well, it's been an interesting 24 hours with all the national politics going on. It's curious as some thoughts were on this. In 1993, my grandparents bought 4 acres of county land so they could have their small farm, a pair of horses, and a dozen or so chickens that have done so. In 2000, the city incorporated them. In 2004, a development of duplexes sprung up next door, which is now right up the fence line. Yesterday, 2024, due to complaints from the people who live in the development next door, the police came and told my grandparents that they had 1 week to get rid of the roosters. My grandmother, now in her mid-80s, was devastated. I'm not going to argue that they aren't a nuisance, but this is the second significant issue that has arisen when the place got rezoned, the first being maximum lot size to subdividing property. I find it particularly frustrating that you can buy property and have all these plans, and then the city county can come in and change the rules on you blowing up your plans. My grandparents can apply for a non-conformist grandfather permit, which will be about $1,800, and likely wouldn't be approved anyway. I understand the world changes, but the title hasn't even changed hands. Anyway, the lack of respect for what property rights the city has shown is particularly frustrating. It isn't unique to here, Washington County, Oregon. When I was stationed in Okaloosa County, Florida, I had over an acre of land and wanted chickens, not even roosters, but there was a city ordinance that says poultry are not allowed within city limits, even on over an acre. This is what it's like about central/urban planning and zoning laws. All they do is restrict what you can do, and any changes you want to make, even if legal, require a permit. I just find the whole thing frustrating and demonstrates how on the day-to-day your local politics affect you far more than national politics. And I would agree with all that. Ultimately, the state has the monopoly on force, so they can justify whatever they want to. In this case, taking away this person's grandparents' rights to have roosters. But with that being said, that's why it's important to always question who should have the right to use the force and for what reasons. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Ultimately, everything does come down to us, the force and capital, to do what, and that's the world we live in. Then we have White Dudes for Harris, ex-account suspended for free speech champion Elon Musk and advocate Elon Musk after raising $4 million for Kamala Harris from the Rap.com by American MWAF, across post from the Kamala Harris subreddit. And I said, this is the third time this has been posted here now. I talked about this in the last episode. I was posted there twice. And, ultimately, I don't really care for white libertarian groups like White Dudes for Harris, but if they want to form a group and be on Twitter, I think they should be able to. I believe we should have free speech as much as possible. But that being said, it does come down to what the platform owner wants, and that's sometimes how life goes, and sometimes you just have to cope with that. Then we have Trump doubles down on ominous election threat and creepy Fox interview. Fox News' Laura Ingraham practically begged Donald Trump to walk back his threat. He refused, from NewRepublic.com by Donald Key. And I said, it didn't work the last 3,331 days. Maybe day 3,332 will be the charm. And that's referring to how many days since Trump initially announced his candidacy in 2016. I was just noting that Reddit's goal to take down Trump has been historically unsuccessful. And that's my thoughts on that issue. I don't really care for the guy, but, it's been Orange Man bad for a decade now, getting a new boogeyman at this point. Then we have Trump media quietly enters deal for a Republican donor who could benefit from the second Trump administration, from ProPublica.org by Pratam 13. And, I don't think that's good. It's just good to show you that even the people who market themselves as being different from the career politicians, like Donald Trump, he says, I'm an outsider, I'm not a career politician, it just goes to show you that they're all really corrupt, and Trump is the norm rather than the exception in that regard. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the media's gaslighting about Kamala Harris from JRE clips on YouTube, and I posted that, and I said, everyone agreed that Kamala Harris was a shit candidate in 2020 before she was chosen as VP after Tulsi destroyed her during the second Dem debate of that cycle. Malice makes a point that the MSM specifically went out of their way to avoid mentioning Tulsi for why Kamala was unpopular. Then she got chosen as VP and put on the back burner for 4 years until the plot to house Biden because it was bad debate with Trump. Malice mentions that Seymour Hersh, the guy who said the U.S. blew up in the Nord Stream pipeline, said that Biden was threatened to be removed from office via the 25th Amendment if he did not stand down. Now the media can't stop going on about what a great candidate she is. It's fine to not like Trump, but if you're voting for Harris rather than against Trump, you are a full blue NPC, in my opinion. And they also talk about how Biden might have been replaced by a body double. That's why I like Joe Rogan, because, he's always a very much question everything guy. That's why I consider myself to be, I like to question everything. And you have to consider why the media is pretty much doing 2016 all over again in regards to Kamala. It's just like 2016 of Hillary. They want to crown their queen rather than let people decide who to support, and that's why increasingly no one trusts them anymore. And I think Kamala's campaign might end up very much like Hillary's in that regard. Then we have AOC shuts down Republican whining about Kamala's weird Trump attack from NewRepublic.com by Donald Key. And I said, a lot of the subreddit is indistinguishable from r/politics. Out of myself and a select few, you get used to it after a while. AOC is not really libertarian at all. She's a socialist, and I personally don't think she should be posting on libertarian subreddit. But ultimately, people will just if they want to post. It is uncensored, so just post whatever you want to. But I personally don't see AOC as a libertarian. Then we have Rand Paul. COSA is not solution for protecting children from social media from CourierJournal.com. And I posted that and I said, glad to see someone in government still supports free speech. Of the 94 senators who voted on the bill today, only Paul, Ron Wyden, and Mike Lee voted against it. And that just goes to show you that, the government will say, oh, we're doing this to protect the children, but in reality, they're just doing it to have more power over the internet and more power over speech and expression. And that's my thoughts on that issue. You can't trust any government bills, especially ones that give the government blank checks like COSA does. Then we have Reddit. Can you believe that Israel accuses anyone who dares criticize them of anti-Semitism? And I posted that. I also added, Reddit, anyone who criticizes Kamala is a racist and sexist bigot. I made a political compass meme of that too. That I posted the political compass meme subreddit. That was the guy on the left says I hate Israel shuts down. The NPC on the left says I hate Israel shuts down any criticism of his anti-Semitism. And the guy on the right says he feels the same way in regards to Kamala and racism, sexism, right? And the guy on the left guy does the triggered NPC face. And yeah, I think if you want to criticize with someone, you should be able to criticize them. But increasingly, you can't do that these days without being shut down for it if it goes against the narrative. And that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have the Black Panthers protesting outside the California Capitol. Days later, Governor Ronald Reagan would sign the most restrictive gun control laws in U.S. history, 1967, from Donald Key, and that's crossroads from the Old School Cool subreddit. And that just goes to show you that, a lot of people say they don't support gun control, but they'll support it when who they deem to be their enemies have access to firearms. And that's why, I'm personally very against gun control. Ultimately, I think everyone should have access to any weapon they choose, and that's my thought on that issue. Then we have just a bunch of conservative guys promoting their policies from CH4Locks, and that's a YouTube video from these guys are just weird from Won't Pack Down on YouTube. And I said, much like billionaires, the left hates super PACs unless they play for their team. Normally they're against super PACs, but they apparently love Won't Pack Down in this instance. So that's my thoughts on that issue. Then we have how the banking system works. Free Stooges is $20 a year from St. Paul's Free University on YouTube, and I posted that, and that's Larry, Mo, and Joe. He was the one who replaced Champ after Curly left. They're just saying, "Oh, you owe me a 20," and then, here's a 10. I owe you another 10. They just circulate the billing once themselves, and that's pretty much the banking system. It's all pretty much IOUs and permanent loans. And yeah, it's especially true in the age of the post-gold standard. And that just goes to show you that, the banks, they don't really have any assets really to speak of other than just paper money. And increasingly that is no value other than what the government says it does. The government can print as much money as it feels like, but when you print it, it's a crime. And that just goes to show you that, why even pay taxes if the government can just print more money to fund whatever it wants to anyway. And that's my thoughts on that issue. I also added, always love the Stooges. Just recently learned that they have a museum for them out in my neck of the woods. And then we have Missouri Attorney General Bailey sued Biden Harris from FirstAlert4.com by Zach, and that's across from the law/subreddit. And apparently he's suing them over because his FOIA requests have gone unanswered. He's asserting that the DHS is flying immigrants from the border of Missouri cities, but provides no evidence this is happening. And I guess if he wants to sue, I think he should be able to sue. I think people should be able to sue each other for whatever reasons they want to, and that's my thoughts on that issue. And I think that's going to be it for me, and I will wrap up there. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.